an extract from what will hopefully become a novel, but it's the beginning, so you don't need any background information. Wow, your parents are like really old. That's what the other kids say when they see Granny waiting in the playground after school. Adults tend to go the other way. They ask if I'm enjoying my special day with my grandparents, if they're spoiling me, if I'm looking forward to going home to Mum. They're always more embarrassed when I tell them, but I don't mind. Serves them right for being patronising. Granny taught me that. Teachers are the worst. Most of the teachers at Whitehaven know. I think they knew even before I did, but every now and then there'll be someone new. For a couple of days, they won't know anything about me. I'm just this girl who runs around and reads books and makes up games like everyone else. I like those days. I can vent into the background just like any other kid. That not knowing never lasts. I can't tell exactly when it's going to happen, it just does. There's the sympathetic look, if they're brave enough to make eye contact. The ones that just look awkward are usually fresh from teaching college, scared of anything that will derail their bright-eyed, fun-learning style. Sometimes there's a really brave teacher who wants to have a special talk at break. They're usually the ones that have dealt with this kind of thing before. I like them the least. Kids aren't bothered, or they forget, or they don't understand. Because kids aren't meant to understand. It's funny how different adults are. When I look at adults, all of the magic is gone, and as far as I can tell, they can't get it back. Not proper adults. I don't know what happens when people grow up, or why they do. But when I grow up, nothing and no one is going to take the magic away from me. They can't. That's assuming I even do grow up. Granny says Dad never grew up, but she's wrong. At least in the way I mean. I'm thinking much more like Peter Pan in Neverland style. Toby never grows up, so why should I? Age is a bit of a weird subject at home, so I try not to talk about it. Granny gets sad and Grandpa forgets. That's why I have to talk to Dr. Sam, they say, because they can't make things better. Really though, neither can he. All he does is tell me things that aren't real, that things like Toby and the forest aren't real. He calls them coping mechanisms or something and tries to talk about Grandpa or Mum or Dad's new family. He thinks I try to escape the real world. If Dr. Sam's world is the real world, I can see why. I'd run as fast and as far away from it as I could get. I go to school, do my homework, do my chores. I try to help Grandpa remember things, and I see Dad on the weekends. All of those things are real. I made sure to check with Dr. Sam what it was I was supposedly imagining. Apparently, my therapist said I just made it up. Isn't an acceptable excuse for getting out of homework, which by the way means there are 0 perks to therapy. I don't just go to make Granny and Dad happy. I did at first, but I'm fairly sure if I kicked up a fuss they'd let me stop. One less thing to worry about. No, I may not need it, but Dr. Sam does. All adults need help. They can't see that stories, magic, fairy tales, they're all real. If we know it when we're kids, if we're so sure in our hearts that it's all there, then why do adults have to lose it? What makes them forget? That's what this story is about. It's about finding the magic and never letting go. I should probably tell you a little bit about myself. That's how you're supposed to start stories, isn't it? Miss McIntosh always says you should start with a bang, not a cliche. That's why I didn't say once upon a time. I'm Jessie, and I'm 11 years old. Jessica Louise Gold, if you want to be formal, which I usually don't. Louise Gold was my mum, but I never knew her. She died when I was a baby, the first cliche of this story. That sounds heartless, but there are loads of orphans in stories. Cinderella, Harry Potter, Batman, they all had parents die. I'm not saying that I'm like them. I doubt that I'm secretly a wizard or going to marry a prince. I definitely didn't inherit piles of money. That would have been nice. I could have been a superhero. If that's the kind of story you're looking for, this isn't it. Just pointing out that the dead parent thing, it's sad, but it's been done before. I've got short curly brown hair and my eyes are 2 different colours, like, naturally. One is green as the forest and one is blue as the lake. I know it's weird. Isolated and rare according to science. Isolated and rare like me, says Granny when she's in a bad mood. My curly hair's natural too, not because I eat my crusts. Mum's hair was curly, they tell me, but hers was long. Mine used to be, but it was always getting tangled up in the trees, so I cut it. Granny got really angry then. Really scary angry. She wouldn't let me out for a whole week. That was around about the time she started sending me to Dr. Sam. I think that might make me the only person ever to start going to therapy because of a haircut. If you read any of those silly magazines, a haircut is supposed to be a good thing, not something that takes your playtime away. I pointed this out to Aunt Granny, but she just got angrier and stopped buying Grazia. That's not the point. You're supposed to be getting to know me, so what else? I only ever wear dresses. Skirts sometimes, but never jeans. Denim is for working men, says Granny. It's definitely for boys. Toby wears jeans. So that's what I look like. Mismatched. A girl with short hair and dresses and 2 different coloured eyes. You might notice me and Granny if you saw us on the street, though that's not what I'm usually noticed for around here. Apparently there's something completely fascinating and interesting about a little girl with a dead mum. Especially if she's in therapy because she cut her hair and has friends nobody has ever seen. Did I forget to mention that part? You didn't really think I was in therapy because of my hair, did you? Well, no, that's not it. It's more because Toby lives in the woods and doesn't go to school or really age or talk to anyone except me. Because we're best friends. None of this means he isn't real. Everything you imagine is real.